Hi everyone. So today we're going to do the 2019 CAPE Accounting Unit 2 Paper 2 Question 2, which is on costing systems. So I have the question set up over here. It's saying Lucas Limited, and basically what the question wants us to do is to outline two differences between traditional and activity-based costing, as well as to calculate bid prices using those systems. So let's start. All right, so what do we know about traditional costing and activity-based costing? Now, the first thing we are fully aware of is that traditional costing uses a single or common predetermined rate to value the overheads incurred during production. Whereas the activity-based costing uses multiple or different or a variety, even if you want to write that, of predetermined rates to value the overheads incurred during the production. So one difference is a singular rate versus multiple rates. The second thing we are fully aware of is that the traditional costing method summarizes or lumps all of the overheads under one single cost driver. In other words, they assume that one activity created all the costs. So it might be machine hours or direct labor hours or even direct labor costs. Whereas, again, in the activity-based costing, what they do is they break down or separate all of the overhead costs and place it under the various or several different cost drivers that would have been contributing to the cost of the overheads during the production. For example, the number of setups, how many orders were made, how many inspections you had to do, how much power was related, how much times you had to fix the machines, etc. All right. So clearly we have two differences, singular rate versus multiple rate, and summarizing under one heading versus summarizing under breaking down under several headings. All right, so that is part A of the question. So let's move to part B of the question. And part B says determine the bid price using the machine hours. So let's do that. So primarily, when it says machine hours, it's obviously selecting one single cost driver. So this is a traditional approach. And to do this, then we need to find what you call the predetermined overhead rate, or POR or POHR. And that basically is simply the estimated overhead costs, right? The total estimated overhead cost divided by the total units assigned to that driver. So when I look here, I see that the machine hours which they're asking us to use is 200,000 machine hours. So I'm going to put that over here on my little formula. All right, and type in 200,000. And for the estimated overheads, it said these four things here are the estimated overheads. So I'm going to add all four of these together to arrive at the total estimated overheads. All right, so let's quickly add this up. Right, so that total is 1,640,000. So now I can find the predetermined rate for the machine hours, right? It is simply this 1,640,000 divided by 200,000. And when I divide that, I get a total of $8.20 per machine hour. So the question then is, so how many machine hours did product 427 use? So we come here and we see that product 427 used 2,400 machine hours. So I'm just going to put that in here. And therefore, if we multiply the units by the rate, we will get the overhead costs under the traditional method. So I've inserted that overhead cost into my formula. Remember, the direct materials and direct labor are already traceable, so we don't have to worry about that. It was the overheads that we had to assign. So I've now assigned those overheads, 19,680, and give me a total of 104,680. However, the examiner says, well, all jobs must have a 15% markup. So I'm going to apply this 15% markup to this number. So let's multiply that and get an answer. So that will be this multiplied by 15%. And that gives me 15,702. So the bid price under the traditional method would be 123.82. So that is question B. C says, well, what is the bid price if you had used activity-based costing? All right, so let's set up for activity-based costing. Now, to do activity-based costing, remember, activity-based uses multiple rates. So therefore, we're going to have to get the multiple rates. We're going to have to find the rates for each of these driver activities, each of these cost drivers, all right? We're going to have to find the rates for each. So for example, the rate for inspection is 430 divided by 215. All right, notice that all the numbers end in 3 zeros, so we could eliminate the 3 zeros and just write it as 430 over 215, 80 over 50, 780 over 500, 350 over 200. So let's work out these rates and see what we get. And what we will do, we will follow the same example we did just now under the traditional. We're going to multiply the rates by the units assigned to product 427. So what I did is I copy in the units already, so that will make life easy, and we can just multiply and see what answer we get. All right, so let's find the rate for inspection. So 430 divided by 215 is $2. 80 divided by 50, right? So that is 130 over 50, which is 0.6. The power is 780 over 500, so that is 1 and 280 over 500, so that is about 56%. 56%. And maintenance is 350 over 200, so that is 1. And then we have 150 over 200, which obviously is 75. Good, so I have all the rates, and I've multiplied out. So 2 times 50, 1.6 times 25, all the way down, and then we add up, and we will get the total overheads under the activity-based approach. So under this activity-based approach, the total overheads was 15,260, hence the cost of the job, 260, and we're going to apply the 15% like we did just now. So let's apply that 15%. And so the cost of the job under the activity approach is 115,299. So the traditional method gave you a different answer, but don't worry about that. So let's go to the last part of the question, which is the weighted average. And it's asking us to find out the cost of a unit for the quarter. And we know that weighted average is process costing. So in process costing, we want the equivalent cost to divide by the equivalent units. So the equivalent units would be all of the units that were completed. And the question clearly says that we completed 350,000. So I'm going to write those in. right? And if they're completed, it means that they're 100% material, 100% conversion. And then it says here that for the work in progress, we have 48,000 in materials and 24,000 in conversion. So therefore, the values will be 398,000 in physical material use and 374,000 in conversion used up. So now we want the cost flow, which is obviously so under weighted average, there's no separation between the work that we are bringing forward and the current work. So we just treat everything as if it's currently happening now. So we're going to add the two numbers together. So it says we brought forward the material cost was 256,000. So let's put that in. And the conversion cost was 196,460. And during that period, we added these additional costs, right? So 599, 700 for the materials, and 286,000 for the conversion. So I now have the equivalent costs, and therefore the rate is very simple. The rate is always the same for everything, which is cost divided by units. All right, so that means that the material cost is $2.15 and the conversion cost is $1.29. Therefore, the equivalent cost, the equivalent rate or the unit cost was $3.44. So the next part was, okay, so how much was the cost of the goods that were transferred? So we obviously will transfer the completed goods. So the completed goods were 350,000. So let's put in that. So 350, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to multiply that by the rate, 3.44. And when we multiply that, all right, let's calculate that quickly. When we multiply that, we get 1,204,000. All right, so that is the cost of the goods transferred. I mean, you could have easily just do it this way. You could just multiply out the materials and multiply out the conversion and then add up and you should get the same answer. All right, so last part of the question was to calculate the ending work in progress. So the ending work in progress is basically just looking at the two numbers that we were given, which is 48,000 and 24,000, and multiply them by the rates that we calculated. All right. So when I multiply those by the rates calculated, I get 134,160, and that will be the value of the cost of the ending work in progress. So I want to thank you for participating in this exercise. I hope that you did the question along with me and you got it all correct. Well, until next time and next question, I will see you then. Thanks.